Hey everyone, this is Jack's Unholy Racket, episode number 2. I'm making progress on one of my many projects. I had a lot of fun with the first episode. I got about 10 views. I got a compliment in real life. Wow, so that's definitely enough for me to keep going. I'm having a lot of fun anyway. I'm going to review 5 albums from my collection. I'm going to just keep going through my vinyl until I get to my CDs. You'll get a lot more variety as far as genre when we get to CDs, but right now everything I'm listening to is pretty much metal. It's what I find the most impressive as far as experimentation and things like that and variety. So that's what you'll be seeing more of today. So if that's what you're into, that's awesome. If not, hold out. We'll eventually get to a lot more variety. First up is Ahtme with Mephitic. These guys are from Kansas City, Missouri. They've been around for a long time, but this is only their second album under their new name. I didn't know any of that going into this. All I had seen is some sophomoric promotion and some dumb promo videos that made it look like a really young, slammy, kind of stupid death metal band. Yeah, the promotion was terrible because what you actually have is some pretty mature and impressive songwriting. This is a great album from start to finish, and there's a lot of variety in the way the riffs are composed, the way the band performs together. There's a great variety. I love the rhythm section on this album, the bass and the drums. There's just nothing predictable about it. I mean, I had such low expectations. I think that's why it blew me away so much, but I've listened to it a bunch more now that I have my physical copy here. And yeah, impressive. There's some great musicianship here, and it sounds very purposeful. It doesn't just sound like a wash of noise or anything like that. There's kind of a cool, concept-y feel to the way the songs flow from one to another. I have this weird backstory in my head that the band and the label had a falling out because it's got a 2019 copyright, but it didn't come out until a few months ago. And it's on this very strange, very beautiful pastel pink vinyl. So for a slammy, weird, admittedly, death metal album, that's not the craziest thing I've ever seen, but I have this funny story that they got in a fight and they're not on the label anymore. But as far as the music goes, I highly recommend this for anybody who is into death metal. It's kind of a mid-level of technicality. It doesn't try and mash you over the head with guitar virtuoso stuff. It just kind of flows well. The band is tight. They sound like they have a lot of energy, and there's nothing over the top about it. It's just a cool performance in general. Cool, and you get your money's worth because it's a fairly long album with some interesting songs. So, Ahtme, Mephitic. Check it out, Unique Leader Records. Up next is Blut Aus, The Work Which Transforms God. I've been listening to this album since it came out, and I think it came out in 2001, so I've been listening to this for a long time, and this is the first physical copy I've ever had. It's a kind of recent reprint. It came out this year, but what I mean by recent is it's very cheap. Candlelight and Spinefarm, I guess, just own the copyright on this, and they're just printing it whenever they feel like it. The printing is very cheap. There's no liner at all, and a lot of the artwork itself is a little bit blurry. But they made up for it because the album itself is amazing. That's never going to change. And the vinyl is this really cool two-tone black and clear. But you've probably already heard this album many times. I know you have if you're into the band or if you're into black metal, but if you're not, it's a cool album to check out because this was the turning point for the band where they started incorporating elements of electronica, ambient, drone, trance music. They tried to do everything at once on this one album, and I think a lot of people hated that. And they're still to this day making albums where they're trying to perfect this mishmash of those styles. For me, this is not a perfect album by any stretch, but it is a very interesting listen from start to finish. If that sounds interesting to you, electronica, ambient, atmospheric weirdness, and then, yeah, some black metal in there as well. Obviously, I recommend this album. I love this album. It's very weird, but I'm glad I have it in my collection because this is one of those bands that has been around so long. They have so many releases. I have liked them for a long time, and I had none. So it's cool to have this one. Beautiful vinyl, kind of cheap, reprint packaging, newish stuff. But yeah, awesome album. Check this out if you're curious about that weird mishmash of styles. You definitely won't be disappointed. It might not be your thing, but it will kind of live up to that weirdness that I've described. So Blut Aus, The Work Which Transforms God. A nice B letter for my collection. Up next, another band that's been around about 30 years is Incantation, Sect of Vile Divinities. This is their newest album on Relapse Records. It came out this year. I had medium expectations for it. I've always liked this band, but I wasn't expecting much. And I think the reason I liked it so much is because I listened to it on Spotify without knowing who it was. I was just kind of, I think I was cleaning the kitchen or something, and every song I was just like, damn, that was pretty good. And the next song would come on and be like, that was also really good. And at the end, I had to go check it out, and I was pretty surprised because there's a lot of energy and weirdness on this album. And I'm not a huge Incantation fan. I've listened to all of their albums over the years, and when they came out, I checked them out. But this was the first one that after it was finished, I was like, oh man, what is this all about? And yeah, there's kind of I feel like a revived energy in the band. There's a new kind of otherworldly weirdness. They're incorporating that the ability, it's okay to be extra weird that's everywhere in metal right now. But yeah, it was really cool to get this because the liner notes mention they've been around for 30 years and they're just still going strong. No surprises really, except for the fact that it's as good as it is. And if you have been ignoring this band because they haven't impressed you in a while or you were never really into them, check this one out because the songwriting and I wouldn't call it a concept album, but there's this oneness to the weirdness that sounds great. So check this out. Incantation, Sect of Vile Divinities, Relapse Records. Up next, more death metal, except these guys are pretty much brand new. I think they've only been around, 10 years as opposed to 30 years. From Canada, this is Tomb Mold, Manor of Infinite Forms. These guys are on $20 Spin. That's my favorite record label. It's my dream to have a death metal band on $20 Spin. They put out the best death metal. They put out some of the best looking vinyl. When they sign a new band, they're going to be the band that everybody's talking about in 3 or 4 years. Beautiful, clear, kind of orangish yellow vinyl. This album does it for me in a way that very few do. There is a element of hardcore punk aggression and griminess kind of underflowing the music. The undercurrent to the death metal is hardcore punk, and they put out another great album the year after this. This is from 2018, and they put out another great album last year that went a little bit more technical, a little bit less, for lack of a better word, punky, just as far as how aggressive and pounding it was. And I actually prefer this album, although they're both just amazing. These songs are long and complicated, and there's cool riffing and kind of conversations with the instruments, and of course, all through it, that very weird otherworldliness that I kind of associate now with just new school death metal. It's just kind of what people are doing, is making it weirder, a little more dissonant, a little bit more atonal. And the bands that are impressing me, and I think that are rising to the top, are the ones who are adding that without sacrificing any of the songwriting and that the kind of tightness to the way the riffs flow from one another. In this project, the drummer is the vocalist, and that adds a cool element to the vocals. They're a little bit more percussive and rhythmic because of that. And that makes it sound even cooler and weirder, more like a drum circle of demons or something. And when I don't have access to my record player, I like to listen to this album on YouTube live. Their live shows are unbelievable, and I hope to see them live one day after COVID's done. But for now, I'm just going to keep supporting $20 Spin, pretty much buy everything they put out. Everybody that's into death metal already knows about this album because if not, when this came out, last year's album was the one that they were just all over it. And if you aren't into death metal, this probably isn't going to get you into it because it's pretty punishing and weird. But if you're living under a rock and you're just waiting for that one last person to tell you that this album is awesome, I'm here to do that. Tomb Mold, Manor of Infinite Forms. And I think maybe the band name is a reference to Bloodborne, which makes it even cooler if you're a combination metalhead video game nerd. All right, last up, we have got Vanum, Realm of Sacrifice. I had to look this up. This is a Latin word meaning like emptiness or nothingness, and that's pretty much what you'd expect because it's really artsy. A lot of people consider this like hipster metal these days. I just consider it kind of the newest school of U.S. black metal. It's ultra melodic. It has a lot more in common with Iron Maiden than it does with someone like Mayhem or something like that. They're making a concerted effort to make it melodic, make it easy listening. make it something that you can sit down and kind of enjoy in the background. So there's a lot of atmosphere, there's a lot of interludes that kind of lead from one another, but at its core, it's a melodic, guitar-driven, percussive, kind of black metal album. It's not very abrasive, so I'd highly recommend it to anybody who is not usually into metal. Not just because of the musicianship, but because of the quality of the songwriting. I also have their second album on CD, and it's been in my car for 10 months. I never have been able to take it out because I always love listening to it. This is their first album, Psychic Violence Records, licensed by Profound Lore, which is their home. And I got this for like $7 or something. The person had no idea what it was. Look at that. It's this beautiful sea blue marble kind of vinyl. This is just going to be more and more expensive, I think, because this is that new school of easy listening, accessible metal for hipsters, admittedly, people who are really into aesthetics and things like that to their detriment. I went on YouTube after I'd been listening to this band for a year and found out that it wasn't cool to like them, and I was very surprised, but I'm going to keep on loving them. So, Vanum, Realm of Sacrifice, this is just a really, really easy to listen to background album with some cool guitar parts, and the drumming is just unbelievable. The guys that are in this project, I feel like they can play every instrument. When you watch them play live, the intensity and the musicianship is just unreal, and they only have 2 albums, and to me, they're both perfect. That's pretty impressive at this point. So I've been kind of delving into the other projects of the guys in this band to see if they can even possibly be as good. But for the most part, I've just been listening to their 2 albums a lot. So I can't recommend this album enough. I know it's not cool to like it, but it sounds great. So anyway, that was 5 for today. We're going to do 5 more very, very soon. I appreciate you guys watching. If you have any suggestions or comments or anything to say about the albums themselves, then drop me a comment, and have a great day. Stay healthy.